And at some point, you realize the past doesn't have to define you. The detours, the setbacks, the closed doors, they're all part of the story, your story. And here, we're all about second chances, fresh starts, and those moments that change everything. Welcome to the Breakthrough Sessions podcast, where we talk about the messy, the beautiful, and the in-between. Because every ending is just the beginning of something new. I'm Refilwe, and this is The Rebirth. Let's get into it. Hi guys, I'm just recording a quick video, just letting you know that the next few episodes of the Breakthrough Sessions podcast are going to be repeat episodes. Reason being, I thought it would be great to spend this Easter weekend and then in 2 weeks' time, the first weekend in May, which is kind of a long weekend, just take some time to walk down memory lane at some of my best episodes from the past. And also for new people who are just getting to know me now, giving them an indication of how things were like for me a couple of years back. As some of you know, I am on season 3 of my podcast, and I started my podcast journey back in 2020. So yeah, I wanted to also take some time to spend time with my family and friends and just recuperate. There's also been some things that have been happening behind the scenes that I wanted to just take a minute to pull myself towards myself. But you will be seeing some of that in my journey as the next few weeks progress, either on social media or then in my podcast. So I'm not leaving you behind. I just wanted to take a break as well and just take a minute to myself. But I also want to make sure that the consistency continues. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to just bring some episodes back from the vault. And I hope you guys will enjoy it. I think it'll be a nice reminiscing moment as well for those of you who have listened to the episodes. And I think it will give you an idea of the kind of person that I was back in the day. So it'll be 2 episodes. And then after that, we'll be continuing with our scheduled programming. So please do have a great Easter season. Have a great long weekend. For those who are in South Africa, enjoy the next few long weekends that will be coming, and we'll chat on my socials or we'll chat over on my podcast. Cool. With the dawning of a new age, after pandemics have done their work, we may find ourselves at the watershed of singular considerations about how to handle the changes that revolutionize our lives and trace the silver lining in a new reality. Quote by Eric Pevernashi. Welcome to this episode, everybody. I'm so delighted that you could dedicate time out of your day towards listening to this episode in pursuit towards finding your breakthrough. For the last few weeks, I've just been thinking about this topic that I wanted to talk about, being that we have been in a lockdown for over 6 months, and due to this pandemic, we have been forced to really change our mindsets about our future and what's to come, and all the different changes that we'll have to make because of this pandemic. And it's forced us to really, really be flexible and adaptable to change, even if we're not comfortable with it. That being said, just because we're willing to make the changes that we have to make, it still makes us think about what once could have been if the pandemic didn't happen, and a lot of things that we hoped would have happened, things that we would have been able to do but couldn't do because of the pandemic. I know for me personally, I lost a lot in terms of activities and opportunities that I would have been able to be a part of and participate in this year if it weren't for the pandemic. And it just goes to show that things can literally change in an instant, and you'll have to just make do with it and be flexible enough to live in a time when changes can happen and it won't affect you as hard as you would have expected it to. And there are really positive things that came from this year, like Even though I wasn't able to graduate, I am still in a graduation season where I'm receiving things in bits and pieces instead of all at once in one day. Like, I had my virtual graduation, and I recently just received my degree, and the traditional ceremony is coming up. So it's been a really long graduation season, and it gives me more opportunities to celebrate, which I didn't think I'd have because of this pandemic. And it's also given me other blessings, being able to reinforce the relationships that I've had with my friends and family, and keeping it consistent, building new relationships with friends, and getting to know them better really also came from this pandemic. And there are others as well that I wouldn't have been able to identify if it wasn't for this situation. This topic, as you've already seen, is about finding the silver lining in a situation that you're in. And in this case, I really wanted to connect it to what we left behind, focusing on mourning a lifestyle once lived and lost. There were so many things that I know personally I had to change about myself to adapt to this pandemic. And as we all know, things will never ever be the same again. So it really forces you to stay in that zone of just being and making plans that aren't concrete, knowing that things can just change in an instant. Speaking about silver linings, for me, it's a very, very, very big part of my life. I have really clung to seeing things from a different perspective and finding that positive light in a really bad situation and holding on to that and letting it fuel you to get out of that negative situation, or helping you to get through that negative situation. My motto that I live by truly through and through is Excelsior, which means ever upward. And I also wanted to unpack a little bit about what that means and why I've really used that to help me get through situations that I've been in. So there's this movie that came out a few years back, probably in the early 2010s, called The Silver Linings Playbook. It's also based on a book, and it's basically about these two characters who have been through really, really bad situations, and it's really affected their mental health and how they've had to push through because of their mental health struggles that they've been through. And then the main character, he really came from a really bad space, and he really stuck to Excelsior, which means ever upward, and used it to just help him fuel him to get out of the negativity and the negative space that he'd been in, and help him find a silver lining. And for me, that movie literally changed my life. Not because of the situation that they'd been in, but more about seeing things from a different perspective and helping and using that to help you move forward, or help you to do better, or help you get through a dark situation. There's this one quote from the movie that really summarizes what Excelsior means, and that quote has really helped me get through some really tough times. And it goes like this: Excelsior, it means, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take all this negativity and I'm going to use it as a fuel. I'm going to find a silver lining. That's what I'm going to do. That takes work, and that's the truth. It really is the definition of Excelsior. Just because you live in that space of always looking for the positivity in a really bad situation doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy for you to get through that situation. It's more about using whatever you can find in that negative space to help you, to fuel you to get through it. And then every time you see yourself stressed out, frustrated, demotivated, or depressed, or just feeling all these negative feelings because of that situation, leaning on the positivity out of that situation helps to motivate you to get through it, or helps you to deal with it and not letting it really deal with you, and it just helps you to find a silver lining behind all the negative situation. And in that, you're able to see things from a different perspective. And you get used to using that mentality in a lot of the things that happen and that do come up. Because as we know that in our lives, things aren't always positive and happy-go-lucky and rainbows and unicorns. Things do happen. And when you are thrown into something unexpectedly, it really does help to see things from a different perspective and lean on that to help you get through it. It's really about having that mindset shift. And you can work towards that. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that you can train your brain to do by using various activities or various aspects to just help you get to that space where you are naturally always seeing things from a different perspective. That being said, I also have this acronym that I thought I'd share with you that I've used multiple times to sort of maintain living a life of Excelsior, and often an acronym that I rely on when things are really bad and, Excelsior just isn't enough. Really practically living it out using this acronym has benefited me substantially. So the acronym is BREATHE, BREATHE, and stands for a couple of points that I'm going to mention and just kind of unpack. So the first one is B, and that stands for be present. Being present can be a godsend feeling to be in, and it helps you to live in the now and live in the moment, and being in that space where nothing else matters in that moment. It brings you back from it can bring you back from a really messed up space, and also thinking the future, filling your mind with things that haven't happened yet, or overthinking. Being present can really just bring you back to your awareness and the current space that you're in. And it's easier said than done, because people can really be like, but how do you stay in that space of being aware of what's happening presently? And there are multiple things that you can do. One thing that I do, which I actually got from a former monk by the name of Jay Shetty, maybe you know him. You should really look into him. He's a really amazing person. Is he uses your 5 senses to help you to be aware and bring you back to your awareness. And essentially what it means is, and I'm kind of just, this is not quoting verbatim, it's kind of just a breakdown. What he does is, so think about your senses. He counts down from 5 going downwards. So he starts from 5, and essentially he says, try and see if you can find 5 things around you. And then from 4, he's like, try and see if you can hear 4 things around you. 3, try and see if you can feel 3 things around you. 2, try and see if you can smell 2 things around you. And 1, try and see if you can taste something. And that is a simple tactic that he uses to bring you back to your awareness, because you've automatically identified things that are around you, and you've had to think about those things. And with you thinking about those things, you're able to bring yourself back to your awareness, and it helps you to be present. So something simple like that can really help you to be present and practice being present, even if it's difficult for you to bring your awareness to that space. Another thing that you can do is thinking about what you're grateful for. In the morning when you wake up, thinking about just anything random, literally whatever your mind goes to about what you can be grateful for, and identifying those things. And it doesn't help to really think about it. Sometimes it really helps to write it down, like physically putting in the effort to write it down or type it on your phone. Literally 2 or 3 things every morning that you're grateful for, or 2 or 3 things when you go to sleep at night that you're grateful for. It really also brings you back to being present and to that present moment, because it makes you be grateful for what you have now and all the blessings that have been given to you so far. So yeah, moving on to the second letter, and that's R. So R is for replace your negative thoughts. And essentially, I'm not saying you must completely delete and remove your negative thoughts from your mind, because that's also easier said than done, especially when you're in a negative or going through something negative. What I'm saying is, try and when you have a negative thought, try not to acknowledge it. Try to fill it with something positive. The smallest thing can make a difference. If that's even too difficult, try to distract your mind. Read a book, watch a series, talk to some friends, engage in a hobby. Distract yourself from feeling those negative thoughts. Even breathing exercises can help. When you feel your thought, your mindset going to that negative space, just take deep breaths in and out. And really just focus on your breathing. One tactic that I also learned is, if you're going through, or if your mind runs to that negative space, you just inhale and you count for a count of 5. And then you hold it for a count of 5. And you exhale for a count of 5. So that helps you with deep breathing and focusing on your breath, focusing on the counting. And that helps you to remove that negative thought from your mind. So even the small things like that can help. Moving on to E. E is evaluate your thoughts. So this is now for if you're not able to replace your thoughts. It is quite linked to R. If it's very difficult for you not to remove the thought from your mind, then evaluate why you're thinking what you're thinking. Try and really dig deep into yourself and try and analyze why you're feeling that thought. And it doesn't need to be linked to what a person did to you or how they made you feel. It's more about why did their influence make you feel that way? Why did you even allow them to get to that place where what they say can hurt you so deeply? Mindfully moving through your day can really help you to build your self-awareness and strengthen your mindset, and also give you that mindset shift that you need. A. Attract positive people. This is so important. Surrounding yourself around people who lift you up and not bring you down. Other people's influence can really put you down if they're negative people, if they're negative, judgmental people, and you don't need that in your life. You need to have those positive people that even when you're going through something and they don't know about it, just their presence alone can help you to feel better about yourself. So really do a check into the friends that you have and how they treat you or how they interact with other people. How do their actions make you feel? And really assess if these are the people that you want to surround yourself with. And even in the dark times, are these the people that you'd want to call to help you to get through it? Moving on to T. Transform failures into lessons. This is the crux of my whole organization. Stop looking at failures as failures. That's the point of it all. It's very difficult to do because when you're experiencing a failure, you are so devastated by what has happened that it's difficult for you to see it any differently. And you need to process those feelings first. That is a priority. But then once you've dealt with the feelings, try and see why that happened to you. And try and find the lesson in that failure. So that it doesn't have to happen again, or genuinely using that lesson as your silver lining. Failures aren't really failures on their own. It's just a lesson that you learned on how to do things differently, how to do them better, or how to evaluate if that's even something that you would want to do again. Try and really work to that space where you're able to turn a failure into a lesson. Deal with the emotions of the failure and then look for the lesson in it. This takes time and it takes a lot of consistency, but you can work towards it and have faith that you'll get there. H. Humorize the situation. It really helps to laugh at what you're going through sometimes. And people can use this as a crutch, which is not great. But in hindsight, after you've been through something, you're coming out of it, it helps to laugh at it sometimes. Or if you're going through something and a friend is going through something similar, let's say, for example, both of you failed the test. I mean, sometimes it does help to laugh at the pain, because it does make it a bit lighter and does make it a little bit easier to cope with. So laughing at the pain sometimes does help. But that doesn't mean that you should just laugh at every situation that you go through, because it can create some form of a coping mechanism, and that doesn't help the situation. So don't create a crutch out of it. Still give yourself the time and the space and the patience to process that situation and use the other letters of the acronym to help you through it. And the last one is E. Establish the positive point in the negativity. This ties all the different letters together because it is the pure definition of finding that silver lining. Once you've been through the other letters that make up the acronym, the positive point should have reared its head, but if the situation is that dire and that severe, it might be hard to find. But just try by all means to look for that small flicker of positivity on why you're going through what you're going through. It gives you something to look forward to, knowing that today might be really hard, but tomorrow might be a little bit better. So there you have it. The acronym is BREATHE, and it stands for B, be present. R, replace your negative thoughts. E, evaluate your thoughts. A, attract positive people. T, transform failures into lessons. H, humorize the situation. And E, establish the positive point in the negativity. All adding up to the word breathe. Something as simple as breathe can help you to begin to make that mindset shift. Overall, give yourself the grace and the time to deal with whatever you're going through. Ultimately, once you've gotten through it and you found your silver lining and you've used it to fuel you, you found your breakthrough. It just takes time and space to have that positive mindset and live in that positive mindset. So allow yourself to do that. That's all I really wanted to share. I hope that these tips are going to help you, and I hope that you are able to adapt them into your life from now moving forward, knowing that we didn't get everything we wanted to get this year, but things will look up. There are certain things that we at least did get from this pandemic. I know for me, it was a lot about making me think a lot deeper. I know I really had to do like a mental spring cleaning, and I was forced to be with my thoughts and address them head on. And I couldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for Excelsior. It really did force my mind to do a shift and to look for those small to big silver linings. I'm grateful for that. I hope it does the same to you too. I hope you're doing well and staying safe and staying healthy. Thank you so much for listening. And that's a wrap on today's session. Remember, breakthroughs don't happen all at once. They unfold in the moments we choose to keep going, to start again, to believe that more is possible. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that their story isn't over. And as you go, keep rising, keep pushing, and most of all, keep believing. This is the Breakthrough Sessions podcast, where every ending is just a new beginning. Until next time.